Hello, fellow book readers. My name is John, and today we are going to go over the mid-year book Freakout tag for 2026. So there's 11 questions, and the first question is, what is the best book that you read so far this year? And that would be The Last Argument of Kings by Joe Abercrombie. I gave this book 5 stars. The last 300 pages of this book are amazing. One of the best climaxes I've ever read. The action, the character work, the resolution, the shades of gray of it all really worked for me. It's my favorite book in the First Law universe. And I just really loved where everybody ended up at the end, even though not everything went according to plan. I thought it was just a really spectacular book, front to back. Okay, question number 2 is the best sequel that you've read so far this year. So Last Argument of Kings is a sequel, so technically that would be the answer, but I'm going to give you another one. And that is Morning Star by Pierce Brown. This is the third book in the Red Rising series. It's actually my second favorite book I read so far this year. Another 5-star read. I just loved how much closure this book had, even though it is not the end of a series. I loved where all the characters went in this book. I loved the Norse mythology. It had some really impactful scenes. And the character work here is elite. So this was an easy 5-star read for me. Okay, question number 3 is new releases you haven't read yet but want to. And there really wasn't any because I read every new release that came out in the first 6 months that I really wanted to read. So my answer to this question would be the new Dungeon Crawler Carl book that I think came out last month, book number 8. But I'm only through the first 3 Dungeon Crawler Carl books right now. But I know for a fact I'm going to get to that book eventually, and I hope to be able to read it by the end of the year. So that would be my answer there because I do want to read it, but I'm not at a point where I can read it yet, if that makes sense. Okay, question number 4 is most anticipated new releases in the second half of the year. And I got 4 answers for that. My number 1 being Wolves of War by John Gwynne. That's the first book in his new duology. It's coming out in the fall, and I'm really looking forward to this. I loved the Bloodsworn trilogy. I read that last year, and I imagine this is going to have similar vibes, just with like a different sort of inspiration. And then the second one would be Peter Aurelian's new short story collection that's coming out, I think, in August. I backed the Kickstarter. It's called Unbroken Masters of Fantasy, and there's like 20 different authors writing in that collection. You got like Brandon Sanderson and Terry Brooks and Tad Williams and Michael J. Sullivan and just a bunch of like who's who. And I can't wait to read it. I backed the collection, so I will definitely be picking that up later this summer. And then Victorious, which is the third book in the Vicious trilogy by V. Swab. V. Swab's one of my favorite writers writing today. She's awesome. I imagine the end of the series is going to shatter my heart into a million pieces because that's what she does. And then the last one would be Fires of December by Brandon Sanderson. This will be his latest release into the Cosmere. I'm in the middle of catching up and finishing the Cosmere up to its current state, so I will definitely be trying to read that in December because the premise of that book sounds really interesting, and B, the cover is amazing. Okay, question number 5 is biggest disappointment of the year so far, and that's the other easy one for me. It is The Gunslinger by Stephen King. This is the first book in the Dark Tower series. The Dark Tower series was a priority read for me coming into this year, and after the first book, I have already decided I will not continue it, which is so disappointing. It was like a core part of my strategy of reading this year. I really wanted to tackle that series. It's one of the gaps in like my fantasy resume, that series, and I was really looking forward to it, but that first book was as much of a disappointment as it could have possibly been. I gave it 1 star. I hated it. It was like a bad fever dream mixed with some really bad flashbacks. Question number 6 is biggest surprise of the year so far, and for me that would be the Bone Ships by R.J. Barker. I generally don't like maritime fantasy books. It's just generally not the vibe that I like to read. I don't really care about sailing. So this was a big surprise for me because I went into this with like kind of low expectations and I really enjoyed it. And I'm definitely going to finish the series now. So huge surprise, great book. Even if you're not into like maritime books, I would recommend this one. It works still. Character work here is superb and the world building is really, really strong. Question number 7 is favorite new author or author you haven't read before, but you read this year for the first time. And for me, that answer is also easy. It would be Shauna Lawless. She is the author of the Gale Song trilogy. The Gale Song trilogy wasn't a surprise for me based on the premise. I knew I was going to like it. I just didn't know I was going to like it that much. She's essentially like the next George R. R. Martin in terms of like style of writing. That's who she writes like. and I really appreciate it. That book series was amazing. Like one of my favorite things I've read so far this year. So I will read anything she writes. Okay, question number 8 is new favorite character that you read this year. And that's another easy one for me, going back to Red Rising and Morningstar. That would be Darrow and Mustang. Just really amazing protagonists. Darrow's awesome. The changes he goes through in these books is superb. The character growth is really well done. And I think Mustang is the most interesting and entertaining character to read in this series. So both of them really, really work for me. Question 9, book that made you cry. Another easy one. That would be A Sky Beyond the Storm by Sabat Tahir. This is the fourth book in the Ember in the Ashes series. The end of this book was just like a gut punch in like all the best ways. And the story of the antagonist, Beloved and Mercy, was just so good, so well done. And she has a way with words. Just really, really well done in all the best possible ways. Another easy 5-star read that uh, made the tears come pretty instantly. Number 10, book that made you happy. Another easy one, Agnes Albert's Mystical Cat Shelter by Heather Fawcett. Heather Fawcett has a ton of books out there, and they all just make me really happy. And including her newest release, it's no different. It's perfect. It's super cozy, but super fantasy at the same time. And the side characters rule. The main character rules. The story is just really like a slice of life thing going on, but it still has tension, and it's perfect. Great story. Really made me happy front to back. And then the final question number 11, is the most beautiful books that you've gotten so far this year. And we're talking covers here. We're not talking story, we're talking covers. So, what are the best covers that you got this year? And I'm not going to count any books that I read via my Kindle or on audio. I'm talking physical books that I actually own. I got 3 for you. The first is my favorite cover that I purchased this year. That is The Last Contract of a Psycho by Fonda Lee. This is one of my favorite covers I've ever seen, period. I would have bought the book just based on the cover alone, even if I didn't know Fonda Lee was writing it. So that was only just an extra bonus. Like, this cover's awesome. Look at it. It's just so good. The background, the red cape, the sword. Oh, the atmosphere. It's all there. The color. It's a perfect cover. And then we got some classic fantasy covers by Michelle West here, part of the Sacred Hunt duology. The first being Hunter's Oath. My copy is really beat up. I bought it at a used bookstore, but I just love this cover. I know this type of cover isn't going to be for everybody, but the characters, the blue, you see like the little antagonist in the background just through the fog, the dog, everything about this cover, I love. I love it. I love it. And then the second one is Hunter's Death, which is also great. Once again, you got our protagonist and the dog, and this time the antagonist is really more prominent in it, and the color and the shine just really pops on it. Just a great cover, in my opinion. I know that type of cover isn't going to be for everybody, but for me it is. And that is my mid-year book freakout tag. Hope you enjoyed. I really want to know down below what was your favorite book of the year. And as always, thanks for watching.